Hello and welcome to the In the Clouds podcast, starring myself, Sarah, and my very best friend, Ben. Ben, why are we here?
Why are we here, Sarah?
So, in this podcast, we're gonna do,
Just keep going.
in this podcast, we'll be delving into a book that I personally wrote 10 years ago, and I wrote it for NaNoWriMo, which is National November Writing Month. And the idea is that you write 1,100 words a day, and then in 30 days, you have yourself a novel, which is around 33,000 words, tends to be like the length of a novel. This one is 17,000 because I never finished it. So we're basically going to read through it, is why we're here. And we're going to do our little commentary on it, and we're going to have a lot of fun. And eventually the book will just stop
We're
because
gonna
there's no
roast the shit
ending.
out of it.
We're going to roast the shit out of this book because it deserves to be roasted. So I will warn everyone, it's very dramatic. Trigger warnings all around. There's some heavy shit in this book. So if we might even need to put like a hotline number at the end.
Kids help
Because
phone
of,
or something.
yeah, kids help phone because of how dramatic and intense it is. So Ben, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Well, I am a student currently at St. Lawrence College. I am studying to be an audio engineer. I like to write music with you, especially. Tell me about yourself, Sarah.
So a little bit about me. I wrote this book in high school, and then I went on to study English at the University of Toronto.
Same. Didn't
Yeah, so
graduate, just went for the lols.
so basically we have a degree under our belt for analyzing this book, and
One between us.
we have one degree between us, mine, and Ben has a little bit of experience studying English as well, so that should be helpful.
I mean, I think I'm a good reader and writer, but I don't have the paper to prove it. So what can I say?
And I'm not a good reader or a good writer, but I do have the paper to prove that I'm qualified to do this.
So why did you decide to write this novel at Sarah?
So I was pretty obsessed with like John Green and just like Maureen Johnson and all those like classic YA novel authors.
What's your
And I
favorite
just
John Green novel?
looking for Alaska. I just wanted to write
It's getting
a
cut.
novel. Yeah, I was just obsessed with these authors and I'd be reading their books and I just wanted to be one of them. So I decided that I would write a very dramatic, very terribly written book.
I love it. How long did it take you to write?
I think I wrote it for 15 days. Yeah.
Good job.
So it was basically just fair warning. It was shot out. I never looked back on it. I never edited it. So there's a lot of hilarious mistakes.
Do you want to give us a brief little forward to the book?
So the forward of the book, yeah, that's perfect. Okay, so um I don't want to give too much away, but basically the book follows our narrator Lucy, who is a senior in high school and she's about to go on the ride of her life.
Wow. I'm excited to read it.
It sounds like she's going to go on a dirt bike. So, Ben, I just emailed you the document.
I'm opening it now. Book. It's just called book.
I couldn't bring myself to type the title.
All right. How is this gonna go? Vape break. All right. Shall I kick us off?
Okay, kick us off.
I'll read the first two paragraphs because the first one's really short. In the Clouds by Sarah Loveless. I never understood why, if there is a heaven, why everyone isn't already there. I mean, if it's so great there, why bother with everything in between? These thoughts were most likely provoked by the fact that when I was 6, my aunt died and my mom told me she went to heaven. I asked her, well, there's your first problem. I asked her if there was such a thing as a perfect world somewhere where nobody died. She said, nope. She said that everyone on earth will die, but heaven is perfect and everyone you have ever, oh God, it better not be true. Everyone I ever loved will be there waiting for you. Sorry, I fucked that up. And you'll all stay there forever and be happy. I struggled with the assessment ever since. At the time, I just learned what death was, and I didn't fully understand either because I didn't know what depression was, and I didn't understand why people killed themselves. But that's what happened to my aunt. And it made even less sense because she was happy all the time. Although barely anything made sense in this situation, I knew one thing to be true: nothing can be perfect. I mean, for one person, it is difficult. I mean, for one person, sure, but for everyone on earth to go to one perfect place doesn't make sense because everybody is different and finds different things perfect. I thought if I were to go to heaven, that maybe I wouldn't like it and I wouldn't want to stay somewhere I didn't like forever. So I decided not to believe in heaven or God. I passed them off as fairy tales. Besides, the fairy tales people write are better anyway. That's actually pretty good for how old were you?
I was like 17, probably no, I was like 16.
I thought you were gonna say I was like 7. I was like, fuck. um,
But yeah, can you tell I was depressed? Even though fairy tales are exhausting, I still read them. Exhausting, I mean, and wait, what? By exhausting, I mean that I think too much. I can't just accept that everything ended happily ever after. I have to think that maybe 10 years down the line, the prince and the princess realized that maybe they rushed into marriage. Maybe they had money problems, or their personalities weren't quite compatible. Then I pictured them getting divorced and dividing their possessions. I try to drown these thoughts out as best I can. I haven't been very good at it. I always like to pretend I'm like the girls in books, mainly books that have a male narrator, because the reader always knows the narrator's thoughts and secrets and flaws. So why does it have to be male? Oh God, what? But the girl's always described as beautiful and smart, and not hot, but beautiful. Just not just in looks, but overall as a person, and not know-it-all smart either. I wondered if that's how people saw me. Okay, I guess I'm making a dig at like the typical male narrated girl. And not know it all smart either. I wondered if that's how people saw me. They don't know any internal dialogue or secrets or really anything about me. They just see what I look like and what I choose to show them. Maybe they see this girl who's pretty, but there's something else going on. Or maybe I just think too much.
that's such a teenage line. Maybe I think too much.
You want to continue on?
I shall. This is the reason why I don't share too much with people. I kind of like that they might think I'm a mystery. That and people don't care about your problems. And the ones you think do are pretending. Oh, you were depressed. They might care for a little while, but the truth is everyone has their own problems to worry about, and they can't be worrying about everyone, so they just focus on themselves. The kids at school listening to your sap story are waiting for you to leave so they can tell someone else about it. I never saw the point in gossip. I always saw it as small people entertaining themselves. The world is full of these people, not very intelligent, but find eternal amusement in the misfortunes of others. Of course, I hadn't seen any in a while, considering it was summer.
This is a cliche, but this is where the book kind of starts. So, it was the first day back to school. My mind was going through its usual back to school panic. Every dream leading up to the first day involves embarrassing yourself in front of the entire school or walking up to your friends and they inexplicably don't want anything to do with you. Oh my God, I'm sad. It wasn't like I had anything to be worried about. It was the first day of senior year, so it wasn't anything new. And I knew my friends wouldn't ignore me because we had all just hung out the night before. But I still had that panicky feeling.
Do I continue with the next Perry?
Every beginning of the school year is exactly the same. You tell yourself that this year you will work really hard and do all your homework on time and still make time for friends and parties for everything else. I knew deep down that I'd fall back into the same lazy routine, but for the first couple weeks, there's faith, and that's always nice. I spent 2 hours picking out what clothes wanted to wear. Do I have my makeup and hair? I have long curly brown hair, but I wore it straight that day. Then it was finally time to go. Lucy, come on. This is so gay. Said my mom at around 8:30. My mom would drive me to school before she had to go to work. She'd drive me to school on occasion, but always made me feel guilty about it, as if she were performing an act only she could do. I would have driven myself if I had the car. I
I
would
have
be
curly brown, sorry, I just want to say I have curly brown hair, but I wore it straight that day because I'm quirky.
Definitely. I would be there on time, but not as early as I'd like to be. I wouldn't have time to catch up with my friends, but I already knew where all my classes were, so I wouldn't be wasting time in the hallways. Wow, she's a senior.
Summer was starting to get boring, as it always did, but I still didn't want to go back to school. I hated all that fake back to school stuff, the shopping for supplies and clothes, the meeting of the new teachers and new classmates. But most of all, I hated when the teachers would try to give the class icebreakers so we could all get to know each other. How dare they? It usually involves having to get up and say something about yourself. This is always difficult for me because I don't think anything about me is remotely interesting. I'm just average, and in my opinion, that is the worst kind of person to be, just like everybody else. They give you those about me worksheets. It's usually name, Lucy Hamilton, favorite sport,
Ooh, ooh,
chess.
we got a last name. We're
Because I'm
learning it. We're
trying.
learning about the character.
Lucinda Hamilton. Um, because I'm trying to be clever or funny. Favorite book, something depressing. Favorite TV show, I don't watch TV.
Oh God.
Does the teacher ever really give a shit about your interests? I doubt it. So where did you get that name from? Why Lucy Hamilton?
I have no fucking clue. I don't know where Hamilton came from. I don't know where Lucy came from.
Mm,
And
cool.
yeah, um, writing favorite sport is chess.
Yeah.
That's fucking gay.
We're allowed to say that because we're both queer people, so
Yeah,
just
oh, by the way,
FYI.
everyone's queer here.
um, keep going.
Everyone always starts a new school year with a delusion of improvement. Everyone always says that last year they were stupid or immature or not cool, and this is always said every time a school year is completed. When I walked through the doors, it is like I had never left. My friends were standing in the same spot they always were, at the end of the hallway where our lockers were the previous year. Lucy, you made it, said Peter as he put his arm around me. Peter Adams had been my boyfriend for the past 2 years. I guess we're going to have to put a new meetup spot for the morning. Our lockers aren't going to be here anymore. That hadn't even occurred to me yet. It bothered me that our current biggest life problem was where we would meet up in the morning before class. Oh, she's so deep.
Bothers me that that's my biggest problem. Like, where's the poverty? Where's the hunger?
Yeah, exactly. My friends Samantha Fields, Liam Holden. Wow, Catcher in the Rye reference. Devin Carlson. And wow, they're all white. And wait for it, Jim Dawson. All smiled and waved. Oh God, I'm remembering the story and it is grim. We are in for a grim fucking story, Benjamin. Okay.
I don't remember where we were.
My first class was math. I guess whoever made my class schedule was merciful while making my most torturous class first and out of the way. Oh, she has everything to complain about. I had no friends in that class, which, like anyone else, I told myself was okay because I didn't need distractions in a serious class. However, everyone knows that distractions are the only things getting you through the horrible classes. I strategically sat beside the smartest girl in class. Her name was Megan. One of the things I liked about Megan, spelled a different way the second time.
That's such a power move.
So her name was Megan. One of the things I liked about Megan was that she didn't really talk that much. It was a nice change from everyone else at school. Most of the class consisted of review from last year. It went by pretty quickly, and I had a free period next. We don't have free period in Canada. I don't know what I was smoking.
Can I also just say I like my women like I like my 20s films. Silent.
Peter had that period free too, so we were going to hang out in the library. Take it from here, Ben.
When I got to the library, Peter was already there. I don't know why I thought that was so funny.
I didn't leave you hanging, did I?
He was on his laptop. I sat next to him and kissed him on the cheek. I peered over to see what he was looking at on his computer. He was applying to university. I immediately tensed up. An education? For a man? We had talked about what universities we were going to at the beginning of the summer. I figured we had all of the summer to worry about it, and the conversation never really resurfaced after that. I'm thinking if we apply for university now, we could get early acceptance. Then we can have time to get an apartment near campus, he said. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It was as if he had made my entire life planned out for me. He had us living together in an apartment, and it made it seem like the simplest thing in the world. Like, it was crazy that we weren't living like that right now. I didn't reply right away. I turned the laptop towards me and started looking at the website he had opened. He had the website for about 5 different universities open and tabs for the apartment rentals. How are we supposed to afford this on our own? Take it, Sarah.
Babe, you worry too much. You know my parents will have all this covered. Oh, he's rich too. Wow. We won't have to pay a cent. I got this. You don't even have to think about it. He closed his laptop.
I like how it says you don't even have to think about.
You don't even have to. You don't even have to think about. He closed his laptop. I never saw Peter as that guy, the captain of the football team with the filthy rich parents and his future set in stone. None of that mattered to me until that moment. Wait, he is that guy. I never saw him as that guy that he is. But he is. He is all those things. None of that mattered to me until that moment. Wait, he's the captain of the football team? This is the worst story.
This is like
Lucy Hamilton is dating Peter Adams, the captain of the football team. Feels awful. Also, babe, you worry too much. Where are we? That's when it all clicked. We were completely different people. He was the cliche. Wow. He was cliche, and I'm not like the other girls.
Even though you just said it in the first paragraph, I'm average.
He was the cliche, rich and handsome football player, and I was his girlfriend. Why me of all people? He could have had virtually any girl he wanted, and he chose me. Even my friends. Were they really my friends? I only started hanging out with them when I started dating Peter.
When you read why me of all people, I thought you meant like, why am I in this situation of all people? Like,
yeah.
But you meant like, why me out of all people? I get it.
Yeah,
I get it. Oh,
I get it. Little Devil Wears Prada quote for anyone who's really listening. Wow, you got this all planned out. I'm not sure this is what I want. I wasn't even looking him in the eyes at this point. No, I know there's still so much we have to go through, but I think we could have a good chance of getting into the same school. I know it all seems really sudden and I'm freaking out too, but this is happening. Next year will all be different. He sensed I was getting uncomfortable towards the topic, but he kept going on and on about next year and all the changes and how we will take care of all the details. I didn't really want to start a fight in the middle of the library, so I just let him talk about it for the rest of the period. Wow.
I didn't want to start a fight, so I decided to be a doormat.
There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
He sensed that I was getting uncomfortable, but he just kept going on and on and on, so I just didn't say anything. Whoops.
Oops, I accidentally pulled a... What's the other bitch's name? I pulled a Megan.
Pulled a Megan. And kept it real silent.
I like how you've broken the paragraphs here. Is this that like thing that writers do when they're like starting a new section within the same chapter?
I don't know what was going on. And I don't even
Right.
know if it's broken up into chapters.
Oh, wow.
It just goes on and on and on for 50 pages.
Oh, God. Well, tuck in, folks.
Okay, Megan, time to speak
Can't
up.
sit anywhere, Megan. I have hemorrhoids.
Hemorrhoids.
Okay, shall I continue?
Yes.
The cafeteria was filled with people who were too lazy to bring lunches on the first day of school.
Everything is a complaint.
Oh.
Oh my god.
Peter and I walked in together. Samantha, Liam, Devin, and Jim awaited us at a table at the back of the cafe. Okay. You wrote cafe. Did you mean cafeteria?
Yeah. I called it a cafeteria and then I called it a cafe. It's the Megan thing all over again. Peter and I walked in together. Samantha, Liam, Devin, and Jim awaited us at a table. Awaited us at a table at the back of the cafe. They already had their lunch. Chiz. It should be.
Their one collective lunch that they're gonna eat.
They already had their lunch. Peter offered to get mine for me, but I went with him. He was already planning my future. The least I could do was get my own lunch. So have you heard? Major party this weekend, said Sam. God, we've been back to school for 3 hours and there was already a back to school party in the works. It's like, can you not?
Why is everything a problem?
So I went to the library. Oh, I can't believe there's a library here. Shit, we can't even go. We're going camping at my parents' cabin this weekend, said Peter. Of course, Peter has a fucking cabin. He would. How could I have forgotten he had a... Oh, here she goes. How could I have forgotten he had a cabin? His parents were made of money. I wouldn't have been surprised if he had invited them to this summer home or cruise ship. They were probably going to fly...
To his cruise ship?
I wouldn't have been surprised if he had invited them to his summer home or cruise ship. He's on a cruise ship. They were probably going to fly to the cabin in a private jet. It wasn't like he was going to rub it in our faces, but it seemed like the only thing he wanted to talk about was how rich his family is. Private jet to the fucking cabin, and you're complaining about it?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Well, Lucy, you're not going. Want to come? Said Sam, almost begging. Her voice sounded almost desperate, and she wasn't very good at hiding it. Lucy's a bitch.
I know, right?
I knew the only reason she wanted to go to the party was because the boy she was obsessed with was going to be there, Jake Stewart.
Another white guy. And enter another white guy.
Enter white guy number 3. Also on the football team, very attractive, very unavailable. When I say unavailable, I mean he couldn't count all the girls he was currently seeing on one hand. Good thing he is too. Samantha had a thing for guys she subconsciously knew she couldn't have. That wouldn't stop her though. She usually got what she wanted. So she's a slut. JK, I'm a slut. And at that moment, that meant Jake. I wasn't going to stand in the way of that, but I really didn't want to go to that party. I figured Peter wouldn't want me to go either if he wasn't going to be there.
I don't think I should. I'm going to be stacked with homework, I lied. Homework? Lucy, it's the first week back of school. I'm sure you'll have no problem getting your homework done. Come on, it'll be really fun. Nothing about that party seemed appealing to me. Peter wouldn't want me to drink, so I figure I'd probably spend the night being the sober person who makes sure nobody gets date raped or their phone stolen. We all know that person, right?
I like how you've written it like it's a fucking burden. Like, that's a hero.
Exactly. Whose party is it anyway? I said, still trying to delay my answer. Jake Stewart, she said quickly, as if the name meant nothing to her. Oh, why am I not surprised? Okay, we'll go. I'll drive, but you owe me big time. God, Lucy, you're acting like I'm making you sleep with the chess team. I take the chess team over you seducing Jake Stewart any day. It looks like I've got some competition, Peter said as he put his arm around me. The only thing Peter ever does is like hold a football and put his arm around Lucy. You guys told your parents about this weekend, right? Devin and Jim nodded. Devin and Jim, who I guess we'll never know who they are. Not important.
They're just there to agree.
They're just there to fill up space. I haven't asked yet, but it will be cool, Liam said. Just then, the bell rang. As we left, Peter said he would drive me home and told me to meet him at the car after class. Of course, he's got a car. My next two classes
He has a cruise ship. I should hope he has a car.
Yeah. My next two classes were chemistry and health. Liam and Devin were in both of them. We sat together in both classes. They spent most of the class discussing the plans for the camping trip. They made it sound like it would consist strictly of manly activities like hunting and chopping wood, but they were clearly over-exaggerating. I guess they would just be watching movies and goofing around for the majority of the weekend. It's too bad you're not coming along, Lucy. He should have really said Luce. I'm changing it. It's too bad you're not coming along, Luce. We're good friends. We could use you for keeping Peter in line, said Devin. No, sadly, I'll be keeping Samantha in line, but I'm not making any promises. I laughed because I'm so hilarious. After class, yes.
Sorry, I'm hoarding to read. All right. After class, I went to my locker. There was a note sticking halfway out of the bottom. I almost didn't notice it. I opened it and briefly glanced at it. I immediately recognized the handwriting as Peter's. I wondered for a second what would have happened if someone else decided to read it, but merely said, "Don't forget I'm driving you home. Love you." Normally, I'd smile at something like this, but that day I was not in the mood. I kept going over the conversation Peter and I had had about universities in my head. Why did he assume I wanted to go to the same school as him? I started to wonder if he loved me more than I loved him. Peter was in his car when I approached it. I could hear muffled music from outside the car. He shut the music when I got in. He shut off the music when I got in. "You okay? You're acting kind of weird today." He kissed me. "No, it's nothing. I'm fine. I've just been thinking a lot today. About university, I know," he said. Not exactly, but it was a good guess. "Yeah," I lied. "Don't worry, I'll take care of everything." He kissed me again. And that was the last straw. That was the second time in the day he had said something like that. I don't think he was trying to be, but everything he said was controlling and demeaning.
But I
I
spelled
didn't
it demeaning.
I noticed. I didn't even want to be in his car anymore. I wanted to get home as soon as I could. I wanted to avoid everything to do with that conversation. Take it, Ashley.
We barely talked on the drive home. He probably just thought that I was thinking about university. The truth was I was thinking about him. I didn't want to go to school with him, and I didn't want to share an apartment with him. I didn't even know why I was thinking this way. I just knew I had to break up with him. I started regretting the last 2 years of our relationship. I thought about our first date when he first asked me out and why I even liked him in the first place. I realized that's when I started dating Peter. I was like one of those girls I hate. I thought I was so lucky to get to go with the guy on the football team. I liked his friends because they were more popular than me and I felt cool hanging out with them. I couldn't believe that that's who I used to be. I never realized it before that day, but I had changed a great deal in the past 2 years with Peter. When I got home, I started writing in a blank journal. I thought that maybe if I wrote down everything about myself in that moment, I could look back on it in a few months and check if I had changed at all. I thought that maybe if I changed again, that journal would be my way back. It sounded stupid even to me, but it was the only thing I could think of.
Later that night, I called Peter and told him everything about the party. I promised I wouldn't drink or anything. I also told him I wasn't even going to be there for that long. He apologized for leaving me to go camping. I was completely fine with it, but he was the kind of boyfriend that apologizes for everything he thinks is upsetting to you. The way I saw it was that I had the whole weekend to figure out a way to break up with him. I knew
Not
what I
even
had
him, just with.
I threw you a bone there. I knew what I had to do. I just wasn't sure how I was going to. I like how you ended that sentence with the preposition. Very. I figured I would just tell him the truth, which was I didn't feel anything for him anymore. But now I'm thinking it over. I wasn't sure if I ever did. I'm gonna say we're on chapter 3 now.
Okay.
So if I'm right, Lucy has gone to school, complained about everything. She had 2 classes.
But don't worry,
Peter kissed
Liam and
her.
Devin were in her her
Right.
health class, so it all happened
And
together.
then she decides she needs to break up with Peter.
Basically, Peter has had this conversation with Lucy, and he's planned their whole lives. And she realized that, maybe she thought she saw something in him, but maybe he really is just the stupid guy on the football team. And she thinks that she's not like those girls who would date him. So she wants to break up with him.
Like if she was annoying now, like what was she like 2 years ago?
This book is about to take you on a fucking ride. Like, I'm just curious as to where you think it's going.
I'm not ready. Is it like murder and intrigue?
So basically, the boys are going away on a camping trip,
Okay. All right. Take
and
it.
Lucy and Sam are going to a party,
Okay.
and that's kind of the beginning of the book here.
So she's not going to drink, but there might be like some coke, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
perfect.
just kidding. I don't know. Okay, the rest of the week felt like it was stuck on fast forward.
No, this is a paragraph before.
Oh. The next day at school, I felt weird around Peter. He was happy all day long, not a care in the world. He had no idea that at any moment I could completely ruin his life as he knew it. I didn't like having this power. It was like watching an apocalypse movie for the second time and knowing the exact moment the world ends. I tried not to think about it, but every time I looked at Peter, I thought about how different our lives were going to be in a few days. Then I thought about Devin, Samantha, Liam, and Jim. Would they still hang out with me? Or would they stop hanging out with Peter? I thought about the friends I had before I started dating Peter, but I figured they probably hated me by now. The rest of the week felt like it was stuck on fast forward. When I'm avoiding something, it always seems like time is moving at an unnatural speed. I was starting to get back into the school routine, and every day was the exact same thing repeating itself. Friday finally came, the day of the party. In all my classes, at least 5 people asked me if I was going. It was the only thing Samantha talked about all day. She described in full detail what she was wearing, what booze she was bringing, and what she was going to say to Jake when she got there. She invited me to her house after school to get ready. She said she would lend me an outfit. I really didn't care what I was wearing to the party, so I agreed to go. Do you want to go?
Um, just one question. What happened to Megan?
I don't know if Megan ever comes back in. I don't remember her. And she's so quiet, you barely know she's in the book.
She's in like every scene of the movie. She just has no lines.
She's played by like America Ferrera or something. That doesn't make any sense.
At lunch, Samantha informed me of every single person who was going to be at the party. If Samantha was forbidden from using proper nouns, she would probably have nothing to say. The
Burn.
guys the guys started to talk about the camping trip. So we're leaving at 6 o'clock. Have you guys packed yet? Said Peter. That conversation continued for the remainder of the lunch period.
Why
I
is
slept
Peter
through
gay? Have you guys yet?
I slept through the majority of my next class. Good on you. We had slept. We had slept. We
Continue
had
on
a
that theme.
we had a supply teacher, and I don't think he even noticed, which I don't think he did. He even cared or noticed, which I don't think he did. I had no. I don't think he cared or noticed, which I don't think he did.
Yep.
I had no homework in any of my classes. That meant I had the party on Friday, all Saturday to figure out a way to break up with Peter, and then the guys got back from camping on Sunday morning. I figured Sunday would be my best bet to do it. That way I wouldn't have to pretend like I was still in love with him on Monday. Also, everyone would probably find out by Monday morning. Peter would tell Liam, Devin, and Jim. They would most likely tell Samantha, and then Samantha would tell the world. It was the natural order of things. I met Samantha at her locker after class. Lucy, oh my God, a major problem. I mean, major, like a life ruining. I couldn't imagine anything Samantha was going to say would be remotely serious, but I gave her my full attention regardless. Hey, what's going on? I trying to sound concerned. Hey, what's going on? I didn't, didn't read that with the full intensity of concern. Taylor Brooks is going to be at the party. Oh, a new character.
Oh, a white character.
Taylor Brooks. She said as if expecting me to have a reaction. Remind me who she is again? I said, trying to sound interested.
She's such a douchebag of a friend.
Taylor Brooks, she made out with Jake 2 weeks ago at a party. I heard about
Weekends
it and
ago.
2 weekends ago. I heard about it and asked her because we kind of used to be friends, but not really. Anyway, she said it was nothing and that she liked another guy anyway. But then Devin just told me she told him that she likes Jake. She said without taking a single breath. I told her not to worry about it and that Jake was going to fall for her the second he saw her. This was basic friend reassurance with which every girl is equipped. It had no effect on Samantha, though. She drove us to her house. Abrupt. It had no effect on Samantha, though. She drove us to her house.
Really, even in a car. Where did this take place? I don't remember.
On the ride there, it occurred to
I
me
met
that I would.
Samantha at her locker after class, and they had this conversation at the locker, and then she drove her to her house. All right.
On the ride there, it occurred to me that I would probably be the one driving her and her car home. She'll be all right. I had a feeling that she was going to get completely hammered, regardless if she was rejected by Jake or not.
Um, the second we arrived at her house, she started getting ready for the party, even though it wasn't for hours. She started fixing her already perfect hair and makeup. Then she proceeded to pile her entire wardrobe onto her bed. She feverishly, she feverishly, is that a word?
Fervishly?
She feverishly sorted through it, looking for an outfit. She picked out one for me, too. It was barely an outfit at all, it was barely clothing. The outfit consisted of a black tank top and a short jean skirt. Here you go. Oh, do you want high heels? She said excitedly. I guess. Do you think they'll go with this outfit? I said. Oh, don't worry. You can totally pull it off. We were ready with 2 hours to spare. Samantha continuously
Don't be
checked.
such a Phoebe.
Exactly. We were ready to. Samantha continuously checked her hair in the mirror and discussed Jake some more. She wore a short red dress and curled her dark brown hair. She looked slightly overdressed, I guess, but this was an important night for her. Compared to this, the idea of the party didn't seem so bad. Samantha really wasn't a bad person. She was just a little bit self-obsessed. We made our way out the door, and Samantha told her mother she would be sleeping at my house tonight. This is the first time I heard of this, but I guess it didn't really matter to me. When we got to Jake's house, the party had already started. I received a text from Peter telling me they had arrived safely. He said Liam had bailed last minute, so it was just him, Devin, and Jim. I told him we were at the party. He basically restated what I said about not drinking and told me he trusted me, which I thought was a pretty meaningless thing to say considering I'd only be his girlfriend for another day. I didn't really love him or anything. I didn't tell him I loved him or anything. I just wanted him to have fun on his camping trip and then I shut off my phone.
Why doesn't Peter let Lucy drink?
I don't know.
I mean, they're both kind of the worst.
I think it's just like I think the thing about like Peter not letting Lucy drink is that it's like just one of the ways that he controls her, and it's like one of the reasons she wants to break up with him.
Totally.
It just kind of goes with the theme of like him picking the university that they're going to go to.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I gotcha. Where are we?
I shut off my
Everyone,
phone.
Samantha? Okay.
Yeah.
Shall I go?
Yep.
Okay. Everyone Samantha said would be there was there, and about 100 more people. Some of them I had seen around the school before, but some were total strangers. Samantha immediately pointed out Taylor from the crowd. She was flirting with another guy, so she wasn't a threat anymore. After that, Samantha seemed to calm down a substantial amount, but she was still nervous about Jake. Let's go, Lucy. We have to find Jake. She took my hand. We made our way through the huge crowd of people in an attempt to find her. She wanted to check out the upstairs bedroom, but I had no desire to walk in on a threesome. It's got to be a threesome. We finally found him outside the porch. It seemed like there were even more people in the backyard than there were inside. The cops probably would have shut the party down in a matter of minutes, but Jake's house was out in the country. The other houses were too far to hear all the noise. Jake was going through the crowd and thanking everyone for coming out. For
What?
coming out.
Is he a fucking celebrity? He's got a microphone. He's like going through the crowd.
When Samantha approached Jake, she turned into an entire different person. She was talking a lot more. Wow. And
That's
flirted.
a lot to say about
Yeah, I was gonna say she already talks a lot.
She's no Megan. She's the opposite of Megan.
She was talking a lot more and flirted as if it provided her with oxygen. I stood a few feet behind. She pulled a bottle of vodka out of her purse, smiled, and handed it to Jake. He took it, and they walked away together. She didn't even look back at me. She had completely ditched me at a party I didn't even want to go to in the first place. It was dark, and I was so cold, I went back inside. I considered drinking for a moment because I was bored, but I had to drive home at the end of the night, whenever that was going to be. Because I'm just Lucy in the bathroom. Lucy in the bathroom at a party.
And why is there a bathroom here? That is so random.
Do you want to go?
Some people said hi to me. Others came up to me and said things like, "Oh, you're Peter's girlfriend, right?" I looked around for someone I knew as I humored them with fake kindness. "Megan," I said quietly.
Oh my God, it's Megan. I'm so excited.
Oh my God. I get it. She was talking with two other girls and had a drink in her hand. The other girls walked away the same time I approached her. "Megan, what are you doing here?" I said, surprised. I had never seen her at a party before, or at least not that I knew of. "Oh, Lucy, hi," she said very loudly, attempting to speak over the music. She was obviously a little drunk. "How are you?" "Fine. Well, not really. My friend just ditched me." That sucks. I'm here with my boyfriend. He went to get us drinks. Do you want one? I never heard Megan talk so much. I didn't even know she had a boyfriend. "No, I'm fine." Well,
Honestly, Megan probably is just a normal girl, and Lucy just knows nothing about her.
she's just never talked to her.
Yeah, she's just like, "Oh, you're that quiet girl." It's like, actually, you just don't listen.
Actually, at school, we're supposed to be quiet. You loud bitch.
Sorry, keep going.
No, I'm fine, thanks. Well, I'll see you at school. Have a nice time. I had never felt lonelier. Megan really makes you feel lonely. The more people I saw, the more it reminded me that I was alone. My supposed best friend had just ditched me for a guy she barely knew. I turned on my phone to have something to do. I had one missed message from Peter. It simply said, "I love you." I felt bad having not texted him back. I just needed to talk to him. I went upstairs to find an empty room. I knocked on all the doors, and the only one unoccupied was Jake's. He probably instructed someone not to go in there, or at least that's what a smart person would do, or what I would have done. He had a typical jock room. It looked almost identical to Peter's. Trophies on the shelf, pictures of friends, and local newspaper clippings from winning games. Oh my God, it's such a cliche. I sat on his bed and dialed Peter's number. I didn't hit the call button yet. I just stared at it for a minute. "And why did you dial it? Was he not in your contacts? You fucking weirdo."
Wait,
What
you wrote.
year is this?
I was gonna say you wrote
What?
this in like 2006, right?
Wait, what year is this? Like, have we established a year? This could be an in to what year it is.
When did you write this? What year?
I wrote it in like 2010.
My God, that was literally my senior year.
Oh yeah, in 2010 I would have had a phone that you'd have to no, it'd still have contacts.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Alrighty.
Just then I heard a bang on the door. It wasn't a knock. It sounded like someone had crashed into it. I walked over and opened the door. Jake had been leaning against it, so when I opened it, he fell halfway inside the room. "Lucy, babe, why are you in my room?" He was still lying on the floor and had a huge smile on his face. He'd gotten drunk alarmingly quickly. I would have never pegged him as such a lightweight.
I would have
Oh,
never pegged him.
I would have never pegged him, full stop. Oh, I'm sorry. It was the only empty room. I'll leave. He jumped off the floor. No, no, no. Don't leave. Don't leave. I would love for you to stay. He closed the door behind him, grabbed my hand, and walked me over to his bed. Jake, I really should go. I just came in here to make a phone call. We sat down. To Peter, he looked away. Well, yeah, he's my boyfriend. I friendly elbowed him to indicate I wasn't interested. Well, he doesn't have to be. He moved closer. What about Samantha? He moved a lock of my hair behind my ear. Oh shit, it's about to happen. She was talking to some girls and then I left to come up here. But I don't want to talk about her. He leaned over and kissed me. I started to kiss him back. The door swung open. You bitch! Oh my god, this is so
It
dramatic.
just turned into telenovela. You bitch!
Like, oh my god. Can you believe the drama that's happening right now?
Just
You
perfectly timed. You bitch. Door swings open.
she doesn't say it like that. She just goes, you bitch. Samantha was standing in the doorway holding the bottle of vodka.
Samantha was in the bed the whole time.
She turned and started walking down the hallway. I pushed Jake's hands off me and went after her. Sam, wait, it's honestly not what it looks like. She was pushing through people trying to get away from me. She suddenly turned around and looked at me. Her makeup that had taken hours to put on was now smudged around her eyes. This is so typical Lucy. What are you talking about? You know exactly what I'm talking about. First Peter, now Jake. Her words were shaky and slurred. What do you mean, Peter? People were starting to notice our fight. I spent all freshman year trying to get him to notice me, but he never did. He only wanted you. And you know that I was fine with it, but now Jake, I was worrying about Taylor Brooks when I should have been worrying about you. And how could you do this to Peter, you slut? You honestly have no idea how much he loves you. She probably wouldn't have told me any of that if she hadn't been drunk. She started to walk away again. Sam, wait, where are you going? She stopped, but she had her back turned. Home. You know you could really wait, what? You know you could be really beautiful if you didn't care so much about your looks. Is that what she really says to her?
That's mean.
That's what Lucy fucking says to her.
Yike.
Like, you kiss the girl or the guy that she's been obsessed with, and you say that to her.
It's like, yeah.
So,
Do you
how
want
do
to
we
keep going?
I only said that because I had been saving it up for a while. I was too drunk to know if it made sense in context. Wait, when did Lucy get drunk?
That's the mystery all along. How did I get drunk?
Oh, that hurt.
Would that look painful?
Yeah, Lucy, when the fuck did she get drunk?
Maybe she had like a vodka tampon in it or something.
Maybe. Also, I don't think anything could have made the situation worse than it already was. Yeah, I think that made it worse, Luce.
What the fuck? She's turned slowly and I seized her arm. You're not going anywhere like this. Give me your keys. I put out my hand. So you're gonna drive?
Oh.
She wriggled out of my grasp and continued to walk. I eventually lost her in the crowd. I ran out of the house to catch her before she got in her car, but it was too late. By the time I got outside, her car was already halfway down the street. I quickly whipped out my phone because if driving drunk wasn't bad enough, I thought I also try to get her charged with texting and driving. Jake was now downstairs. He spotted me and started to walk over. Babe, there you are. I've been looking for you. Just stay away from me. I walked through the crowd and into the kitchen. Why is she still here? There was a group of people taking shots at the counter. I grabbed one of the bottles unnoticed and went to the bathroom. Oh, Lucy. I looked in the
Mm.
mirror and looked the same as I did when I got there, unlike Samantha, who looked flawless upon arrival and left a drunken mess. She had left drunk and emotional, which is a bad combination for driving. Yeah, I mean, yeah. If she had gotten in an accident, I would have never been able to forgive myself. I tried calling her cell a few more times. I texted her one more time. You shouldn't have left. Please call me right when you get this. I started drinking more, apparently. I don't even know for how long. I didn't care if I passed out there. I told my mom I'd be sleeping at Samantha's, so it wouldn't have mattered. Someone knocked on the door. Is somebody there? Said a voice. I opened the door. It was Megan.
Oh my God, Megan, she's back.
I love Megan. She's my favorite character.
I know, she's the best.
She just stood there and stared at me. I thought maybe it was because I refused her drink and now I was wasted. Oh, you done? She said. Yeah, go ahead. I walked to the living room and sat on the couch with my phone unnoticed. I pretended to text someone so no one would talk to me. I didn't know what to do with myself. I was stranded at a party at which I knew virtually no one. It was then that I remembered Liam had stayed behind. I wanted to call him, but I could barely see what I was doing. I went through my contacts and now you have contacts and found Liam's number. He answered something sounding tired. I figured it couldn't have been that late. Hey Liam, it's Lucy. I know this is really random, but I'm desperate. Can you please come pick me up? I had to talk loudly over the music. Lucy? Lucy who? No. Yeah, sure. Where are you? I'm at Jake Stewart's party. Oh yeah, I know where that is. I'll be there in a little while. She's like desperate for help. I'll be there in a little while.
I'm gonna jerk off and play some COD, and then I'll be there. No, I think it's far away.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, thank you. Are you okay, Lucy? I'm fine. Just please come get me. I hung up. I waited for Liam outside. I couldn't stand to be in there anymore.
A couple other people came outside too, some to smoke, and some were getting picked up. I played with my phone to make it look like I was doing something. It was really cold out and I was barely wearing anything. I got offered a smoke by about 3 people. Do I just have the look of someone who wants to be given illegal substances or what? So it was weed. Every time a car went by, I got a little excited, hoping it was Liam. I texted Peter telling him that I needed to talk to him. I had to give him at least a slight warning. He texted me back saying he really had to talk to me too. I wondered for the rest of the wait what he was talking about. Liam finally arrived about 10 minutes later. I started walking up to the car even before he stopped. I really did not want to be there anymore. She says that like 8 times.
I mean, she meant it.
I got in his car. Lucy, what's going on? He said. Thanks for picking me up. I was ignoring the question. But Lucy, why am I picking you up? What happened? He hadn't started the car yet. He wasn't going to tell me, and he wasn't going to until I told him what happened. Seriously, nothing. I just want to go home, please. What about Sam? Where's she? She's gone, and she's probably dead, and it's all my fault. I started crying softly.
Softly.
Why do you think she's dead? And I thought you weren't going to drink. Everyone is going to hate me. Okay, Jake kissed me and Sam walked in and then she drove home drunk. Alcohol always makes you say the things you so really want to take to the grave. And I don't even understand how that sentence worded out that quickly. Oh, Lucy, you didn't. He started the car. I closed my eyes and leaned my head against the window. I didn't pay attention to where we were going and I didn't care. Lucy, are you sleeping? He shook my arm a little. No. I looked up and we were in front of Samantha's house. Her car was in the driveway unharmed and her bedroom light was on. Thank God. So where to next? I thought for a moment about the question. I couldn't sleep at Samantha's clearly, and my parents would be furious if I showed up this late and drunk. I don't even know. I have nowhere to go. You can sleep at my house tonight. We have a guest room. Liam, you are honestly the greatest person who has ever lived. Thank you so much. I hugged him from the passenger seat. I'm glad to be of service, he smiled. Hey, I forgot to ask. How come you didn't go camping? I asked. Hey, I forgot to ask. I asked. I got called into work for tomorrow morning. Oh my God, I'm so sorry for making you get me. I was just sounding like an annoying drunk person now. It's honestly not a big deal, Lucy. I wasn't going to leave you there. Besides, I work at 10 tomorrow, so I don't have to wake up that early. You're such a good friend, Liam. I owe you my life. I must have dozed off after that. I said that. Lucy, wake up, said Liam. His voice was shaky.
You want me to go?
Yeah.
Okay. Lucy, wake up, said Liam. His voice was shaky. I opened my eyes and saw him standing over me. I was in Liam's room. Liam's eyes were bloodshot. I looked at the clock on the wall, and it was only 4 a.m. What time did she get home?
I don't know. It wasn't disclosed. No times were disclosed. Mm.
The clock was the only thing on the wall. There weren't any posters on the wall. There on the walls. His room was empty, simply a bed and a dresser with a laundry basket in the corner. This is getting creepy. Hey, like, is this like gonna be some room shit? Like, is this Brie Larson in Room?
No.
I'm scared.
I'm scared.
Um, hey, oh my God, I have such a headache. Are you okay? I asked, confused. I rubbed my eyes, trying to adjust to the light. No, Lucy, something happened. Something really, really bad. He put his hands over his face and held it in tears. Oh my God, was it Sam? Did something happen to her? I asked nervously. Sam's fine. It's Peter. Come downstairs. He took my hand and led me downstairs. I was still waking up, so I couldn't really process what was going on. Liam was still holding my hand. Liam, you're scaring me. What's going on? We sat at the kitchen table. Aren't we going to wake up your aunt? Liam lived with his aunt. Thanks for clearing that up. No, she's not here. She had a business trip this weekend. Can I get you a water bottle or something? He started to pace around the room and frantically opened the fridge. No, I'm fine. What is this about? I was anxious. Liam sat at the table with his hands over his face, struggling to tell me what happened. I'm so sorry, Lucy. He was trying not to cry. What happened, Liam? Tell me. He took his hands away and looked at me. Peter's dead. I thought at first that I didn't hear him correctly, or that I was still dreaming, or still drunk. I couldn't speak or think of anything to say. I just sat there staring into space, trying to understand what had just told me. He had just told me. Devin and Jim are on their way here. They'll be here in an hour. They've been at the police station all night. It sounded like everything he was saying was muffled, and I felt like everything was spinning.
What happened to him? I said quietly. He was stabbed. He started crying hard into his arms on the table. I couldn't believe it. It didn't seem real. It's not true. I got up and started pacing around the room uncontrollably. Well, what happened? Tell me exactly what happened. I slammed my hands hard on the table. I don't really know, Lucy. I talked to Devin on the phone and I could barely understand anything he was saying. I know they were at a bar when it happened and the guy who did it is in custody. I kept trying to picture it all happening, but it didn't make any sense to me. How could he just be dead without any warning? Here one moment and gone the next? I pictured him lying on the floor of some bar in a pool of blood, just a lifeless body that wasn't even really Peter anymore. A wave of emotion hit me. I collapsed onto the floor and began to cry. Liam came over to me and put his arm around me. He sat there and cried together for what seemed like forever. I couldn't talk. I couldn't even have anything to say. All that was left to do was cry. My mind was racing. I was thinking about 1,000 things at once. But the main thing about which I was thinking was that I had cheated on my boyfriend, who is now dead. Although it wasn't really my fault. There were 1,000 things I could have done to avoid it. I didn't have to stay when Jake told me to, and I didn't have to sit on his bed. And even though it was only for a second, I shouldn't have kissed him back.
The doorbell rang and Liam answered it. I just sat waiting in the kitchen. Dude, I need to borrow some clothes, said Devin in the distance. I walked down the hallway to where they were and saw that Devin's shirt was stained with blood. It was all beginning to seem more real to me. Liam nodded and Devin walked upstairs. How are you guys? Asked Jim. Spectacular, answered Liam. Sorry, I don't even know what to say. This is so fucked up. Jim wiped his eyes. Liam went over to comfort him. I stood there watching them trying to comfort each other,
Attempting.
attempting to comfort each other, just like trying to hug each other. um, Devin came down the stairs. I'll never forget the look he gave me. It was as if I were dying. He looked at me as if all the hope had disappeared from the world, and it was the end. When did you get here, Lucy? Asked Devin. I quickly looked at Liam. I didn't see your car out there. I picked her up. I was scared he was going to tell them everything. At her house as soon as you told me. I must have texted you a million times. Is your phone off? Yeah, it died, I lied. We called Sam on the way here. She'll be here in a few minutes, said Jim. My chest tightened. I thought I was going to pass out. I worried Samantha was going to come there and tell them everything that happened at the party. I walked into the living room and sat on the couch with my face on my palms. All the technology in the house was outdated. They had a VCR and every phone in the house had a cord. Go ahead.
Everyone else followed. We sat there in silence until Samantha got there. The doorbell rang, and I thought my heart had stopped beating. Liam answered the door again. The sound of footsteps to the living room made me feel uneasy. When they entered the room, I couldn't even look at Samantha. Hey, her voice quivered. She sat beside Jim, and he held her. She didn't seem to be drunk anymore, but she looked like she had cried all night and hadn't gotten any sleep. Okay, so what happened? Your phone call didn't give me much to go on, said Liam. We were at this bar near the cabin, began Devin. How did you even get into a bar? I asked angrily. Fake IDs, he quickly answered quietly. I stared at him, but he wouldn't look at me. Lucy is such a ooh, no illegal substances, no fake IDs. Like, she's just square. For some reason, I blamed Devin and Jim for merely being there. Anyway, there was this guy, maybe a few years older than us there. He was really drunk and loud. The bartender cut him off, and after that he went mental. He made us almost want to leave, but we didn't. We were talking to some girls, and he tried hitting on one of them. He was all over her, trying to touch her and kiss her and stuff, and Peter tried to be a nice guy, stepped in and told him he should leave. Anyway, the guy pulled out a knife, and then, well, you guys know the rest. Devin took a breath and then kept going. I tried to stop the bleeding, but it was already too late. He was dead when the paramedics got there. Everyone looked petrified. Samantha tried to speak, but barely got one word out before bursting into tears. I shot up from my seat and darted into the kitchen. I didn't want them to see me like this. I leaned over the sink, heavily breathing, thinking I was going to throw up. I started crying so loudly that I was certain they could all hear me in the next room, but I didn't care anymore. I had never felt so horrible. Every inch of my body ached. I tried to stop myself from crying, but it was too hard. I felt a hand on my shoulder. I looked up to find Liam. I buried my face in his chest. If he had not been holding me, I would have collapsed again. Lucy, it will be okay, he said. No, it won't. You're probably right. He's dead, Liam. I know, Lucy. I'm so sorry. He held me tighter. Me too. I broke off. I just don't know if I can live without him. You're doing it right now. Here we are, still breathing. Our hearts are broken, and yet they're still beating. We can get through this. We don't have a choice, he said.
It's a lot to take in.
Okay, so what are our thoughts so far?
So Peter has died. He got stabbed in a bar.
Yeah.
Like that escalated immensely quickly.
So there was already all that drama at the party, and now we've come to learn that Peter has died.
I kind of liked that rich asshole.
I kind of liked that gold-plated asshole.
We stayed up the rest of the night. Sorry, was there anything else you wanted to add?
No, just what are your thoughts so far?
It's très dramatic. Like I can just see like the teen drama series coming out of this, you know?
Totally.
I like it though. It's some good shit.
It keeps you reading, doesn't it?
It really does.
This would kind of be a good place to end it.
Okay, totally. Well, that's a wrap on episode 1 of In the Clouds.
Yeah, some heavy shit going on.
I feel different.
after reading it?
Yeah, like my life has been changed forever.
Are you invested in these characters' lives?
Yeah, like I need to know how it ends.
It doesn't end. That's the shitty thing. Or they just get to a
Sometimes a
point.
story has no end.
I had a lot of fun.
I had a lot of fun too.
I just can't wait to find out what happens next. I mean, I know what happens next, but you don't, and I can't wait for you to find out.
um,
To all the Megans in the world, we see you, we love you.
Megan, we see you, we love you. And that's a wrap.
It's a cheesy wrap dipped in salsa.
A canapé, if you will.
Can I pay? No, you're too poor.